My next guest says it's a far more dangerous world now, though, for Trump than in his first term. And how China responds will be key. Joining us is Fred Kempe. He's president and CEO of the Atlantic Council and a CNBC contributor. Fred, truth is stranger than fiction here. Just talk us through the impact this is all having and what does it all mean?
Well, first of all, it means get ready for a freewheeling president who's going to conduct a very unorthodox foreign policy. I don't know, Kelly, how you spent your Christmas day, but the president-elect was on social media talking about expanding American territory to the Panama Canal, to Greenland, and to Canada. And as you noted, the Greenland prime minister, by the way, that's part of Denmark, it's a territory of Denmark, said it's not for sale. And the Panamanian president had to answer that, no, we control it, we're not going to give it up. And Trudeau didn't really respond at all, although Trump said that if Canada would become the 51st state, its citizens would have 60% less taxes to pay. But at the same time, what he didn't tweet on was more important. The Russians hit Ukraine hard on Christmas Day, trying to take down its energy infrastructure and make it a very cold winter, and really trying to set up the leverage for negotiations. And that's the point you were making. Donald Trump is entering a much more dangerous world than in his first term. And I think a lot of these tweets are distractions, and the real challenges are to come.
I almost see them, Fred, as hints of what the next phase of U.S. sort of strategic engagement is going to look like. So when we read Greenland, which is something that had come up during his first term, I mean, you have to think, shipping lanes, energy, right? Russia. When you think Panama, you think, again, transporting perhaps energy shipments, other kinds of goods, a key route for that. Canada, what do they have in abundance? Energy supplies, right? I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, the essential thing that is going to happen in the next few years is trying to figure out, are we or who is going to supply the world, or our allies at least, with cheap, abundant energy? Europe in particular. You know their challenges better than anybody, Fred. And so is this meant to be a way of bolstering America's kind of energy reserves, its ability to supply the rest of the planet and kind of protect its territory, when there were reports of Russian subs off the coast of Florida not long ago? I mean, so I think these actually are telling us about the strategic challenges he faces.
Well, Kelly, I think you're right. I spoke to a Middle Eastern leader right after Trump's election. I said, "What's the impact going to be on the world?" He said, "About $20 a barrel."
Wow.
And
plus or minus?
Minus, jokingly, because of course the U.S. was going to drill and produce more energy. The real point is that Trump thinks about leverage. But he thinks about leverage in transactional terms, and we're in a strategic situation. What's really different from his first term, and the reason we're in a much more dangerous situation, is the axis of aggressors: China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. They are combining their forces in the defense industrial way more than autocrats ever. If you look at Mussolini, Hitler, the Imperial Japan in the 1930s, they did not cooperate anywhere nearly as closely as these four countries are doing.
Right. So doesn't that, Fred, argue for the U.S. to at least be thinking about how to bolster ourselves in response? I mean, again, who else can we look to to kind of build out against it? Europe has massive economic problems right now, which are the result in many ways of their inability to have cheap energy. So it's like you have to solve that problem. You have to get their growth back up to speed. You have to get them. I mean, we're kind of like out here doing it alone.
Well, and the problem is many people think that that's fine, and it's not. So to have Germany down to zero growth or less, you have elections in Germany early in the year. You have Macron in France; he's in political trouble. You have political weakness, economic weakness, wherever you look in Europe. But if you actually want to stand up to China, you need a strong Europe that's going to be willing to put leverage on China together with you, or you're not going to have the leverage you need. Same with Russia, and same in the Middle East as well. And so it may look short term, they're weak and we're strong, and isn't that good? But if we've got 3.5, 4-point growth, and they've got 1-point growth or less, and you extrapolate that over 10 years, we are going to have a very weak Europe and yes, a much weaker partner to work with us on the world stage.